You know, it's for those people who know Lou Midura, it's really an honor to call him friend and brother. He has God on his heart all the time, each minute of the day. He's just in such close relationship with him. Hey, Lou, are you listening to this or no? Are you getting coffee? So, when I was looking for a closer relationship with Christ back in 2009, I saw an Alpha poster in the bank, and it led me to a church door, and the first person who was standing there to greet me was Lou Midura. And for those of us who know him, it's so typical. He has a big circle, as others had said, and he just wants to invite people in. He wants people to experience the love of Christ. He wants them to experience forgiveness and mercy, and he wants them to experience friendship with one another. Lou is husband to his wife Patty of 30 years. He's father of 3 sons, foster parent of 4 children in 5 years, successful home builder, worship leader, Alpha coordinator in Vermont, missionary to Peru, Uganda, and Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans, a prison minister, and in his spare time, he's a student at Cranwell Seminary. Now, after all these nice things have been said, it's not like all of this hasn't gone to his head. Lou's new email address, which used to be louismadura@comcast.net, is now louworshipme.com. Excuse me. I'm sorry, I left out the ampersand. louworshipatme.com. True story. Look it up. Get an email from him. So, you know, Lou will be the first one to tell you that his proudest title is that of son of the living God. He's the first to admit that he is broken and the first to admit that he is saved. He's also our spiritual fireman. He's always on call at a moment's notice. He'll pray with you on the phone. He'll pray with you in a parking lot. Whenever you say to Lou, "Can I have some prayer?" you better be prepared. Like right then, right there, right now. And that's what a brother is all about. So thank you, Lou. Thank you for being our friend. Thank you for being our spiritual mentor. Even though you don't like that title, you emulate what it means to be a broken yet whole-made man through our redemptive Father in heaven. So thank you, Lou. And Rocky, can you turn that off, please?
Hey guys, how are you? That's Mark. Yeah, that's kind of wild to sit back there and hear that, right? All this stuff you do that. I think just kind of comes natural to us as we walk this walk. I got Jim back there coaching me out. I use his microphone so I can get a little closer, farther back. You know, and this is probably one of the hardest things I've ever had to do, is get up in front of all you guys and talk like this. I mean, I'm the guy that at a small group doesn't shut up, right? But you put me in front of a room like this, and all of a sudden I get tongue-tied, and you know, I got Jamie saying, "Don't worry about it, just thematically approach your life," and I'm like, I can't just do bullet points. I got to try to write some stuff down because my head just is constantly. It's spinning all the time. You know, if I don't write stuff down, it doesn't really work for me. I also want to thank Jack for continually bringing at least me back to father issues, because a lot of my stuff is father issues. I look at Dave nodding there. Jamie, I want to say Dave did a better job. Oh, you're right there, right there. See, that's what I mean. I forgot to say. I should have said that before, but. And I also have some advice when someone calls you on the phone. Sammy, you'll be getting the call next year. after your public statement and says, would you mind giving a testimony on wholeness? The last thing you want to say is how broken you are, because you're like immediately qualified, right? That's like the guy that you want to talk. Because like Jamie said, through all the junk up there, and I do love that picture of me. That's a good picture of me, because that's we talk about a level playing field. Well, you got Nagley, however you say you, up there with hair. I'm wearing a hat because I don't have any hair, but I'm doing what I do there. That's a habitat job. That's me up on a roof with my guys putting shingles on, which is I'm proud of that. That's the kind of stuff I'm proud of, is doing that kind of work in the community. And this whole testimony thing kind of gets to me a little bit, because I've been around. I came in through AA, and I went through. A lot of AA. A lot of times you can get a little what we call junkie envy, where you tell your story and you think you were bad. Wait till you hear my story. And then the next guy's there and he's going, well, you think you were bad. Wait till you hear how bad I was. It's like the only institution I know of where the more shameful you are, the more accepted you actually are, And I love AA, but there was a few things about AA. I think it was because I was brought up Catholic. And when I first came back to Christ, by the way, I did bash Catholics. I don't do it anymore because a lot of my foundation was in the Catholic Church. I knew where to go. When AA told me that my higher power could be a light bulb because I don't understand electricity, I was like, wait a second. Nah, I don't think so. I don't think I can work that way. What I did realize is how far I pushed God away. And it made me realize just how broken I was. Horribly broken. In the time since then, I've come to realize that I'm never going to be whole on this planet, is the truth of the matter. Part of going to Gordon is I get little blips of things from people, and I'm actually reading Larry Crabb, who speaks a lot at these things, and that seems to be what keeps me going back to my desires and my wants and my cravings is wanting to be whole, but not being whole. And so maybe part of that healing is just realizing and accepting that I'm never going to be whole here, because this isn't my home. My home's with Christ when it's all over. I'm just never going to be whole here. So I did agree to do this after receiving at least a couple of emails from Paul. And I don't know how many of you guys know Paul and have had dealings with Paul. But I said to him, because I didn't want to do this. Again, I was trying to come up with any reason not to do this. I said, Paul, just give me, like a couple of days, to pray about this, because I am busy. I got all kinds of reasons not to do this. Rather just come here and sit down, right? And he says to me on the phone, does it really take that long for God to speak to you? And I was like, man, oh man, give me I had 3 days, whatever. And you know what, like I said, as I've written here, the reality of it is that was spot on. I knew when Jamie talked to me the week before that my name had come up. I was like, oh, shoot. This is probably going to happen. And then I was kind of hoping Paul wasn't going to call me. I was kind of hoping it was just a name that was thrown out there as this, maybe we'll get him to do it. And then when you called me, I kind of knew there was no way out. Maybe another point, and a very strong point, and what I'll try to get to if I have enough time left, is that you said to me in an email, who else? You're a redeemed father, a redeemed husband, a redeemed businessman, a redeemed seminary student. That really struck me. And it's not because I feel like I'm redeemed or completely redeemed, but I definitely feel like I'm on a path to redemption. And it's a big part of my story. And I don't know how many of you guys got a chance to read that little blurb that we have on our website, on our New England website. But I'm going to take some time and read it right now. American Heritage definition defines whole as not wounded, injured, or impaired, sound or unhurt, and having been restored, healed. The first definition describes us when we were first perfectly created in God's image, but probably not for very long after that. We're broken men who've had our bodies and our souls wounded, injured, and impaired through things like lies, betrayal, failure, disappointment, illness, loneliness, loss, criticism, and our own sin, or all of the above, right? Our focus for this weekend is on the path back to wholeness, which won't be complete until we're reunited with our Father. Through restoration and healing, as well as learning how to find peace in our brokenness, how to care for the health of our soul. Through friendship with Jesus and each other, we can come to terms with our brokenness and find peace in our Father's love, which allows God to fully use us in the restoration and healing of others by reflecting his compassion and mercy, grace and love. Maybe this is for me. Maybe this is something I needed to do. And he's already using it. Maybe it's for you guys. My prayer, seriously, is that one guy here, if one guy gets anything from what I have to say, it's worth it, right? It's about one guy. And I don't want to just, another thing I want to do that I felt strongly about is encouraging you guys. Testimony sometimes, I know me, I can get like Eeyore-ish, and I definitely don't want to be Eeyore. It's joy and hope. There's a joy and a hope in this life, Jamie Hastings, while we were talking the other day, we were talking about small ball and how all those little bullet points and all the stuff we do in our life, and if we don't understand small ball now after watching the World Series, that whole thing was about small ball, right? None of us really cared who won that game. Cubs fans, of course. And I'm a Red Sox fan, so I can empathize with the Cubs big time. So I was a Cubs fan. My kids were in Chicago for 8 years. Truth, the joy of watching played, the small ball that was going on. That's what I mean about sharing joy and hope. If you walk with God, you'll play that game well. At least better than you'd play without him. I know that for me. There's no game I want to play without God involved in it at this point. There's still going to be outs, errors, mismanagement, but all in all, it can and still be a good game as long as we don't lose sight of our ultimate manager. Because the manager, there was a lot of managing stuff that was going on in that World Series game that I know I didn't agree with. Pulling Hendricks in the 4th inning, 5th inning, what kind of clown? Boy, lucky the GOAT would have been back, right? Or never left. Preach it, brother, preach it. But it's a team sport. This walk that we're all on, it's a team sport. I had this image of a barrel of monkeys. Remember the old game, the barrel of monkeys? And I heard somebody preach on it, and none of this is my stuff. It's all stuff we robbed from other guys. And just, one of my pastors says that, what does Moody say? The milk is someone else's, but the cream is his, right? We just embellish on stuff. But the barrel of monkeys thing, where it's one monkey up here and another monkey down here. So, spiritual mentorship. That's my job as a follower of Jesus. My job as a follower of Jesus is to latch on to somebody who's ahead of me spiritually, and then bring my arm down and grab somebody and drag them with me. It's only as a team we're going to do this. It's what I love about NCS. It's what I love about AA. It's what I love about the church. We've heard a lot of talk about the church. For me, the church has never been a building. It's never been an institution. I'm lucky that way. I was pissed off at first when I saw the Metaxas do the thing on the vineyard because I cut my teeth in the vineyard. I love the vineyard. The vineyard was the place that I learned about the kingdom of God and that I don't really have any rights here. I'm here by the grace of God, nothing else. I just happen to be born in America, white, middle class. Boom, lucky me. And Surprised by the Spirit was one of the first books I read when I was doing undergraduate level stuff to get into seminary. Love that book. Love Jack's story of God being louder than him, Am I preaching too much? I'm sorry. I apologize. Anyway, a last quote before we get to my story, okay? Because I love this quote. The cops will break down your door to save you. God will break down your constitution. Brokenness is not the opposite of wholeness. It's how he gets in. All right. So to my story. I got 5 minutes left. I can rock through this story pretty fast. I don't even need the notes anymore. Now I don't even need the notes anymore. It all really starts with my dad. My dad. And this story, when I was thinking about this, just so you know, this is a broken son becoming a redeemed son. My dad was, man, I just feared him. I started out fearing him as a young kid. I can remember being in Little League and hearing the story. I don't really remember it, but hearing the story told of him throwing a baseball right at my head so I wouldn't be afraid of it. You know, it's kind of a backwards thing to do to a kid, right? Again, imagine you get the glove up in the air, you know, that kind of stuff. And so fear of that, you know, fear of hearing my mother say, "Get in your room and wait till your father gets home," you know, and then hearing a strap on the way up, you know, taking it off his belt and knowing I was just going to get beat. 2nd grade, really? Thank you, Dad, for making me not do that to my kids. Never hit my kids once. Later, disliking them just because I could never make them happy. I couldn't really do anything right except swim. I was a really good swimmer. In fact, when I was playing baseball as I was swimming, he said, you're so freaking slow on the baseball field, you should just swim to first base. That's the kind of stuff from Dad, you know? So he told me the only way I'd ever make it to college was if I swam. I was too dumb. You know, you'll never make it. You gotta swim in there. Put downs. You suck. I remember going to counseling as a young kid and not wanting to go to counseling. Why would I want to go there? And then that first night having the counselor say, "What are you guys doing to this kid? All you do is put him down and put him down and put him down." And I followed that counselor around for a long time. Believe me, that felt great. You know, through all that, you know, mom and dad were also partiers. They were at that age back in the early 70s. They were young, so they'd go out on Friday nights, and I saw them doing that when it seemed to work for them. So, you know, 8th grade, my first drink. You know, smoking weed between the summer of 8th and 9th grade, whatever. When you start fooling around with alcohol that early, it works. I mean, that's your go-to, right? Anybody here in AA knows that. Then my dislike growing to hate. You know, in my teen years, all I wanted to do, from the way I heard him talk to my mom and the way I heard him talk to everybody, was beat him up. Trouble is, he was like 6'2". First time I took a swing at him, I was drunk. I took a swing at him and I sobered up real fast and split. Got the hell out of there because he would have crushed me. He was a big guy. You know, big old Polak. Excuse me for the Polish, I guess. I'm Polish, so it's okay for me to say that. You know, and then through the course of my coming back to Christ and getting saved, and I don't have enough time to go fully into this, but coming back to Christ in church, by the way, a church that's associated with Bill Wilson, AA. First time I'd ever heard a sermon preached in the middle of the aisle instead of at the pulpit. And on that day, I walk into that church because my dear friends bring me there. Pastor looks behind me and goes, "This pulpit was given by Bill Wilson." I'm like, this is kind of weird stuff now, you know. And in that church, going to Alpha, really understanding Jesus Christ for the first time, because I skipped Jesus Christ in my Catholic stuff, because to me, he was just another middleman. I didn't need another middleman. I didn't need a priest in a box. I didn't need Jesus. I just wanted to go straight to God. Completely missed out on Jesus, which angered me very much when I found out about Jesus. I remember getting saved in that church and kneeling down at a rail and I don't know, I must have been 34 years old, and having someone pray for me to accept the Holy Spirit and expect Christ into my life, and feeling a tangible, I felt like I was in a shower. I mean, I can't explain it. It's one of those experiences that 20 years ago, I can remember like it was yesterday. This is cleansing. You know, I've gotten awful dirty since then, is the problem. You know, that's part of our walk, is that we never really stay clean like that. But, you know, through that saving grace of Christ, I was able to be with my dad as he died. You know, like I said, we were civil. We got to the point of civility when life was going normal. I've got my kids, I've got my wife, I've got my business. I'm actually feeling like he's kind of proud of me at this point. And then he got cancer. He got stage 4 lung cancer. They told me I had 7 months to live, and my mother freaked out. My mother's a nurse. She freaked out. But I got to go and spend time with my dad in a different way. You know, part of AA, right, the 12 steps, I had confused them, actually. It was just looking up for this that I figured it out, that for some reason I thought I was supposed to go and forgive him. I don't know, maybe I'm, but it's actually making amends, right? It's one of those steps. And I can remember thinking, yeah, if I go to my father and tell him I forgive him, he'll look at me and say, "What are you, an idiot? What are you talking about? I mean, forgiving me. What's that even mean? And through the time when he was dying, and I was able to be with him in hospice, and I was able to help him, gave me the ability to actually say, Dad, I'm sorry I was such a crappy son. I'm sorry I was such a crappy son to you. And him saying, I'm sorry I was such a crappy dad. And that's as good as it's going to get for me and my dad right there, you know. I led him to Jesus. I told him about Jesus, and I know I watched him die. He died while I was finger-picking a song with my mother and sister next to his bed. And that's wholeness. That's a path back to wholeness as far as for a relationship. That's as good as it gets, you know. Next to my wife, of course, who, you know, she came back to Christ a little bit after me. Christ saved my family. He saved my wife and my relationship. I mean, at the time before Christ, all I wanted to do, because I had a good ethnic background, right? Divorce was off the question. I wasn't going to be the first guy in my family to get divorced. I'm going to hang out here. I'm going to tough it out. Kids are gone. I'll find some chick that wants to party with me then. You know, that was really my attitude. And but after Christ and after Patty with Christ and stuff, all of a sudden everything became clear. And we were on this journey together, and that whole triangle stuff that they talk about, where you got you and your wife here and God up here, it just worked in my story. And I can honestly say I'd die for my wife now. No, I wouldn't have died for her before. I might have said I'd die for her, but I don't think so. I think I would have moved out of the way, frankly. You know, if I'm being honest, I mean that's the deal. You know, I mean you know, and my kids, my kids. The truth of the matter is, my old man wasn't paying for me to go to school. The last thing I was going to do was pay for them to go to school. You know, if they want to go to school, they can work and they can pay their way through. Plenty of people do it. You know, I now regard that as the crowning moment of that's the biggest accomplishment of my life, or one of them. You know, the personal is that I was able to pay for my kids to go to school debt free. That's huge for me, for me to do that. And again, you know, going back to my dad, the brokenness of my dad's relationship led to this amazing relationship with my boys. I love my boys. I mean, more than I could convey. Business, right? Business, in the redemptive factor of business. I mean, when I first got into business as a carpenter, you know, I fell in love with carpentry because I finally found something that I was passionate about in my early 20s. And I just wanted to be good at it. And I knew if I was good at it, I could make money at it, and I could get respect from people. It was an honorable trade. And, you know, in the 80s, had a very successful father-in-law who said, Louis, you just don't get the concept of greed is good. And I was like, yeah, for some reason, even before Christ, I didn't really get that concept. How's greed good? But in any event, that was part of that mindset back there. And my business was all about me. My business was all about, I want to be the best carpenter. I want to be the best builder. I want people to love me. I want everybody to say good things about me. You know? After Christ, it was more about, wow, how can I be that guy up on the roof? How can I give back? I'm too blessed. I don't understand why I'm so blessed right now. I've got to give back. It's not even a question of whether I want to. And I just the other day, I'm over my time. Just the other day, though, it dawned on me. I spent a bunch of my life saying, I want to be the among the best business people. I lost the ego of being the best. I just like to be among the best. And then it dawned on me really, really recently. No, you know, if I go out of this and I finish the work that I'm doing and end up in seminary, and then I don't know what's going to happen after that. But if I can go out saying I've been the best boss, if all the men that work for me say, I never worked for anybody like I work for Lou Midura, that's good enough. That's all I need right there, you know. That's, you know, I'm over my time. It's all good stuff. So much to say. It's hard to sit and write through the failures and successes of my life. I feel like I got that thorn in my side. In fact, I know I have that thorn in my side. You know, and I did, because I'm in seminary, I did a little commentary work on the whole thorn thing, you know. The reason that we don't know the thorn, we don't know what it is. There's all these speculations about what it is. But if I knew what Paul's was and I didn't have it, I'd be like remote from that. It wouldn't affect me. I mean, I know God gives me that thorn because my head would get too big. There's no question I'd get conceited if I was completely redeemed. Do I have to stop, Paul? Because I got one little cool renovation story. Dallas Willard, you guys know Dallas Willard? Wrote a book called Renovation of the Heart. And as a builder, this analogy just works so well for me. I go in, I've renovated a lot of homes, and you go in, and you renovate the house, and you meet with the clients, and you make the sale, and everything's hunky-dory, and it's all good, and everybody's happy, right? Until you actually start in and do the work. Then you've invaded their home, you've invaded their space. Inevitably, you're going to tear a piece of drywall down and find rot, or you're going to find beams that weren't supported or notches that were cut, and it's going to cost you twice as much money. And it's going to suck. And there's going to be good and bad, but it's going to end. What I'm convinced with is the same process basically happens in our hearts with God. He comes in, it's great. I have this experience, I'm kneeling down, I feel the shower of love, and then it starts to suck. And then you find out about the notch joist, you find out about all that other stuff. And it's never going to, it's going to continue on this ride of up and down. And like you said, Mark, but where else am I going to go? Where else am I going to go? And anything that happens in my life, the one thing that I have no doubt about is it's better with Jesus, it's better with AA, it's better with church, and it's better with you guys. Thank you very much. Love you guys.